first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my stepbrother pay for his wife's surgery using my inheritance money? First of all, I 39 male just wanna say screw cancer. I've lost my mom and my son to this awful disease. My son passed away in 2015, but every day it still hurts the same. My mom and dad were divorced, and I mostly lived with my dad for several reasons. My stepbrother and I don't get along so well. To be frank, I didn't see him as a brother because of how he behaved during my mom's and my son's difficult days. I took care of my mother solely because my dad didn't care. He didn't even try to get the family to comfort me by at least visiting once in a while during my mom's sickness and after her death. No one wanted to spend time with me. I was not invited to birthdays, /family dinners, /New Year's Eve, etc. This year's Christmas was filled with tears and unpleasant memories. My loved ones weren't there, and I was literally wallowing in my misery, reminiscing about how my life used to be before everything was ruined. I remember one week after my son's death, my stepbrother had his wedding. He actually had the nerve to send me an invitation via my dad, thinking that I might attend. I was upset, not gonna lie. They downplayed my grief and made it worse to process my loss. I inherited money from my mom, but I haven't done anything with it yet. I decided to not make major decisions during the first year of grief. My days are the same, as I just visit my aunts from time to time and we talk. My dad and stepmom have been visiting my stepbrother's wife who was in and out of the hospital for the past 2 months. I honestly don't ask since my stepmom and her son don't feel comfortable talking about it. My dad sat with me and talked about the family putting money together to help pay for medical debts and prepare for my stepbrother's wife's surgery at the end of February. He asked since I now have money if I can contribute and help with the surgery. I refused and tried to change the subject, but he went on arguing about how I'm supposed to help my brother and support him, especially now. I only replied by asking him one question. I asked him, where was my brother when I was struggling? My dad didn't like that. He told me to let bygones be bygones and stop making this about me and making the situation hard for everyone. He said he promised my stepmom and stepbrother that he'll convince me to pay, and I'm making him look bad right now. We ended up yelling at each other, and then I told him that's not my problem. He got my aunt involved in this mess and keeps saying I'm giving up on family and I'm being spiteful and bitter. I felt guilty, but felt awful that they're asking for my mom's money. My mom who they didn't even visit while she was sick. I understand what they're going through because I lived it with my son. It's every father's worst nightmare to see their son struggle like that. Then to have to suffer another great loss is too much. Now for the top comments. What's the old saying? You reap what you sow? No one was there for you, so how dare they demand money now? My advice? Go no contact with them. These people are selfish and toxic, not a-hole. Absolutely. They didn't stop for some time to see how I'm doing. They were busy with their lives acting like nothing happened. I know that life goes on, but I was literally left behind. My aunt was there for me. She lost her sister, so she understands my pain, though it may not be on the same level. But a loss is a loss, and my dad and his family didn't lose what I lost. Not a-hole. He has shown you he is not family. You owe him nothing. And shame on your father for making you deal with your money before getting it. This was what bothered me the most. He thinks he's entitled to the money because it's my mom's, and he's wrong to think that. Especially after his treatment and lack of sympathy when he saw what she was going through. That's what really hit me in your post. I felt guilty but felt awful that they're asking for my mom's money. My mom, who they didn't even visit while she was sick. That's all you need to say to your father. It's not my money, it's my mother's. And where were you and my brother when she was dying? Not a-hole. Your dad certainly is though, for telling his family that he would convince you to pay. Screw him. You are not obligated to take care of anyone but yourself. If you want to help, that's great, but it seems they just want to use you. Do whatever makes you feel best. And it's beyond ridiculous Opie's dad is upset because he looked bad. He doesn't seem so concerned about the cancer, only with being the good guy in the situation by making you pay. Not a-hole, and don't let dad pressure you into something you don't want. So sorry for your losses. Now for the next story. Half-brothers threatened to sue me over $16,000. It costs them $158,000 and possibly their parents' marriage. When I, 25 female, was 3, My grandparents passed away. They set up a savings account in my name. The account was meant to be accessed by me when I was 21. At that point, it contained just over 300,000. My grandparents left me a letter saying they would like me to share the money fairly with any other Smith-Jones children, meaning my full siblings. Dad's a Smith, Mom's a Jones. By fairly, they meant that they wanted me to assess the situation and judge for myself what was fair. I never had full siblings, but I have two half-brothers, Mac and Joe Smith, who were dad and stepmom's kids. Due to the specific wording my grandparents used, I legally never had to give Mac or Joe any money. However, I see Mac and Joe as my brothers, and as the money came from our grandparents, I felt that the fairest thing would be to assign each of us 100,000, so we all got an equal-sized lump sum, and I figured that when Mac, the youngest, turned 21 and took his 100,000, we could split any remaining money. When I turned 21, Dad suggested I buy a house with my 100,000. I found a place I loved, but it was 130,000 and I couldn't get a mortgage. So Dad said I should borrow 30,000 from the account. I did, figuring I could pay it back before my brothers turned 21, and I have been repaying it. The account should be at 208,000 right now, but due to me withdrawing and then repaying that money, it's at 195,000, so I still owe 13,000. Joe turned 21 recently, and as I was giving him his 100,000, Joe noticed that there was less in the account than there should be. I explained and said I was going to put it all back before Mac, now 19, turns 21. Joe told Mac, and both boys said I stole from them and owe them the full 13,000 back, plus $3,000 of interest that they felt they would have gotten, and they wanted it all paid by the summer, which gave me less than 6 months to bring the account up to 211,000. I said I'd do it, but over 2 years as planned. The boys then wrote up a contract to that effect. I went to sign it until I saw that it said 6 months to pay it all back. I wouldn't sign as we agreed on 2 years. They said I should figure it out as they were entitled to that money and would be seeking legal advice. Later that day, I got an email, clearly written by them, saying that they intend to sue me for the 16,000, plus whatever's currently in the account, and additional damages and emotional distress on top of that. At this point in time, I'd given Joe about 50,000 of his 100,000 because he wanted it in installments. I responded that legally they were never entitled to any of it, and given their attitudes, I'd say they've already received an amount I deem fair, so that 50,000 was all they were getting. I then got a barrage of texts, calls, and emails yelling at me for going back on our deal. I blocked them. They then took to social media, saying that I was trying to screw them out of their inheritance, and rallying our extended family into harassing me over this, and it mostly worked as a lot of people messaged me. However, I got a message from this guy called Chris Smith. Chris said he was 27 and claimed to be my half-brother. I had never met him before, but he sent me photos of him as a kid with our dad, grandparents, and me. He showed me that he also had an account with 150,000 in it, and a scan of a letter from our grandparents saying this money was meant to be shared fairly among Dad's illegitimate children. Chris also told me we have another half-sibling, who is 18. He'd been looking for me for a while, but only found me when Dad shared Joe's post, which had me tagged. We checked with the solicitor to make sure, and as the boys are legitimate, they aren't entitled to anything in Chris's illegitimate kid fund, and as they are my half-siblings, they aren't entitled to anything in my Smith-Jones kids fund either. I sent the boys a letter formally telling them to back off, stop posting about me online, and enjoy the 50,000 because it's all they're getting. The day they received the letter, Chris got a private message from Dad asking if the boys can have some of Chris's fund. Chris also said no and told Dad we'd met. I told Mac and Joe about Chris and our other half-sibling, with Chris's permission. So, it looks like my grandparents, knowing about Chris before they passed, set up 2 funds. One for the kids Dad had with my mother, who was still his wife when they passed, and one for children born out of Dad's affairs, presumably to make sure no one tried to screw anyone else over out of hurt feelings. I'm getting a lot of crap, but holding firm on my decision. The boys have realized that I won't back down on this, and it sounds like I've caused a schism at their house, as Joe has all the money and no intention of sharing, so Mac is now feeling twice as screwed. Plus, stepmom apparently did not know about the other half-siblings, or that my half-sister was born after she and Dad got married, and she's made Dad move into a hotel. It sounds like Dad is looking for a long-term living arrangement outside of the family home because it looks like she is not letting him move back in. Dad is begging me to reconsider. But honestly, I'm done with all of them except Chris and my sister. Now for the top comments. Your grandparents were pretty forward-thinking. I think they just knew my dad well enough to know he'd mess around. You know, sometimes I wish I would maybe get an inheritance when any of my family passed. Then I see how money and possessions just destroy families. If I have anything left from my mom and stepdad, my sister and I are on great terms. When my dad passes, I'm worried I'm going to have to fight his wife and 2 daughters for the things I want. He has a lot of sentimental memorabilia I'm hoping for. The thing about inheritances is that no one is entitled to anything not specifically listed in the will. If the will states that the money goes to you at your discretion, then they're out of luck, and anything they did get was out of your own goodwill. Getting greedy and flying too close to the sun is a tale as old as time. Looks like they melted their wings, and are out of the money you were willing to give them that they weren't even entitled to in the first place. And what a shock that the one who already got his chunk won't share it fairly with the other one. It serves them right. You chose to give them £100,000 each out of your inheritance. That's not the same as them being entitled to 1/3 of the fund. You tried to do right by them and they tried to screw you over money you volunteered. Were the grandparents in question your maternal grandparents, Jones, or was it that your father's parents didn't approve of your stepmother / your father remarrying? Dad's parents. They never met my stepmom as far as I know, as he and mom were married when they passed away, and mom is still alive. The specificity seems to have assumed that he and mom would still be married, but he'd have had more affairs. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my nephew that the reason he has designer shoes is because his mother is irresponsible with the money my husband gives her? I actually did have a reason to say this. My husband has a middle-income job and I stay at home. We have a 4-year-old boy and his sister is a single mom with a 6-year-old boy, his cousin. She lives in public housing and my husband gives her about $300 per month, which I found out about a year ago by looking at his bank statements. This amounts to thousands of dollars per year. Something that has always annoyed me is that she spends what I see as absurd amounts of money on items for her son that he quickly outgrew. Since he was 2, he's worn triple-digit price tag sneakers. And for his 2nd birthday, she got the whole family together and got him a cake that she told me was over $200. I see that as a waste of money for people of our income level, let alone her own. Recently, we were all together at my in-laws' house, and her son tried to dunk on mine by making fun of him for getting clothes from Goodwill. Obviously, he is too young to know better, but this is just stupid. My own parents were middle class, but we shopped at Goodwill because it's a good deal, and it's stupid to be ashamed of it. What made me mad was that, after my son got visibly upset, my sister-in-law started laughing too, like it was a cute little kid thing. I said, "Well, you only have nice clothes because your mother is stupid with the money my husband gives her." Cue sister-in-law screaming at me, and husband looking awkwardly at the floor. He is non-confrontational. And me passive-aggressively smiling until we hightailed out of there. One of the things she yelled at me during the confrontation was that I'm lazy and don't work. It's true that I don't work, but I keep our household spending down by cooking budget meals and carefully planning our budget each week. The whole incident was pretty upsetting, but she's been known to be aggressive towards me in the past, and I didn't like that she was enjoying the opportunity for her son to be mean to mine when thousands of our own household income are going to hers each year. Now for the top judgment. Everyone sucks here. All 3 adults. You should not have dragged a 6-year-old child into this bitterness over money. It's between the adults. He might have behaved badly towards your son, but he's barely old enough to tie his shoes and is not responsible for his mother's poor decisions. If you have an issue with the money your husband gives his sister, raise it with your husband. Don't just lash out randomly at the most powerless person. Agreed. So disappointing to see yet another adult on this site rage at a child that they view as nothing but a stand-in for their parent. Also, that comeback straight up sounds like something a playground bully would say. Good job in showing a huge lack of maturity, OP. Everyone sucks here. Oh wow, a lot to unpack here. So you, a grown woman and mom, thought it was okay to trash talk a 6-year-old's mom to him? Granted that 6-year-old should not be bullying your son, but you should have age appropriately told him to be nicer, and then talk to your sister-in-law. Secondly, Your husband should have told you he's giving money to his sister instead of you having to find out in his bank statements. Not cool to hide something like that from your wife. That's $3,600 a year. Thirdly, you and your husband need to communicate about this money. Your sister-in-law's actions, her attitude and cruelty to your son, should have consequences. Fourthly, let's not police your sister's spending. Your husband gives that money to her as a gift, and it's really crappy when people add strings. If you resent what she spends it on, don't give her money. Problem solved. If you're worried about how this will affect her son, then buy him a few needed items she can pawn or sell, or offer to pay for some of his school or doctor bills. It's not my savings, so I don't feel like it's my choice. I wouldn't care if I thought she just needed the money, but I feel like she blows it on dumb stuff. Okay, Mrs. Big Shot. You really showed that 6-year-old kid, didn't you, sis? You're the a-hole. Agreed, you're the a-hole. In life, you can only control your actions, not your sister-in-law's spending or your husband's generosity. Instead, you chose to lash out at a child. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancé I am not willing to lie about how we met to her family and friends? I met my fiancé online on a dating app. We have been together for 2 years now and got engaged recently. However, she keeps telling me that during the wedding she wants me to give a speech, talking about how I met her while she was working at a coffee shop, and I was so attracted to her that it was love at first sight, and I immediately asked her to be my girlfriend. She says that this makes her look better and will make her look good to her friends if I say that she was so beautiful that I immediately ask her out. To clarify, she is saying I have to say that I asked her to be my girlfriend right at the counter, without even having any sort of conversation with her first. The only problem is I feel very uncomfortable with this untrue versions of events. I'm happy to say she is beautiful and that I really love her personality, and that we had a great connection. But I'm uncomfortable with this portrayal of myself as some sort of creep who asks a complete stranger to be my girlfriend. There are other lies that she wants me to go along with too. For example, I inherited a house from my grandparents, but she is asking me to tell all her friends and family that I myself paid for and bought her the house because she is so special. After I said no, she has been saying that I care more about the opinions of other people than how she feels, and that she is reconsidering if she wants to be with someone who isn't on her side. Do I have a point, or does she? Just to be clear, my fiancé said that the reason she wants me to do the speech and tell people I bought her a house is so that her friends will envy her. She has already told her friends and family those things, but it's another thing to want me to actually talk about them and lie about these things. She knows that my friends and family know I inherited a house and that we met on a dating app, but she says I have to warn them not to say anything and pretend to believe me at the wedding. She gave me an ultimatum that we won't get married if I don't agree, and hasn't talked to me for days. It looks like I'm not the a-hole based on responses. How can I get her to see the light? Now for the top comments. She has been saying that I care more about the opinions of other people. She cares what other people think. That's why you need to change the narrative. She's ashamed of the dating app and doesn't like that you didn't buy your own house. Not the a-hole, obviously. Edit. Also, OP, no reason to lie about meeting online. Got my girlfriend on Tinder almost 5 years ago, and I'm proud of it. Or worse, wants to establish that the house is also hers to take it when she leaves. Yeah, I thought of that too. That's a slippery road for OP because she established to all her family and friends that the house is 100% hers. So if he doesn't, our him would make sure I can prove all of them that he inherited it, and that she never owned a cent of it when the moment comes, because the moment will come. Oh, it for sure will. I get a sense already that this girl is a little shallow and believes good optics/appearances justify lying. People like that, in my experience, would get on the standard court and say the house was hers. Everyone's saying the lying is the red flag, but had anyone stopped to consider the fact that she's trying to get him to reconsider by threatening to leaving him and calling off the wedding? That's manipulation. She's trying to manipulate you by implying she's going to leave if you don't do exactly what she wants and comply to her crazy rules. To me, that's the biggest red flag of all, OP. The rest of your life is going to be like this. Reconsider marrying her. Big red flags here. You can easily turn the truth into a cute story, and you should work on that together. What other lies has she told her friends and family? Indeed, what other lies has she told you? Yeah, dude. All I see is red, red, red. So much red, I'm convinced Moses is going to manifest from thin air and part your post. Why is she so adamant about all of these lies? Definitely not today, home. So, this means she's already been lying to everyone about how you met and your house. I mean, if you're engaged, I imagine she's already been asked how you guys met. If you moved into a house together, people would have asked her about that too. Now she needs you to back up the story so she doesn't get caught. This is crazy behavior. If I were you, I would be very concerned about what else she has lied about. She has lied. She also tells her friends and family that I gave her a monthly allowance, saying she wants them to envy her. She told me she's going to quit her job after marriage so that her friends will envy that she gets to stay at home. I personally think the reason is silly that she's so competitive with her friends, but I've agreed because I don't want to lose her. Dude, she is giving off so many red flags here. When you're wearing rose-tinted glasses, red flags are just flags. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting frustrated with my boyfriend for implying I don't deserve to make the money I make? I'm a 28-year-old woman and I got really lucky to get the job I have right now. I studied electrical and computer engineering in college and job hopped 4 times. Each time I switched jobs, I negotiated really hard for pay and benefits. I'm making $160 grand now, working remotely and living in a very low cost of living area. It's a really nice gig, and I recognize I'm extremely lucky to have interests that line up with a super well-paying industry, and super lucky to have been able to go to college at all. But despite that, I feel like I did work to deserve it somewhat. College was super demanding and difficult. My first few jobs had grueling schedules, and I feel like I'm being paid more for the knowledge I built over all that time. But still, I have to admit it's pretty cushy. I never work over 40 hours a week. My coworkers never contact me about work outside of my 9 to 5. I get paid stupid good money for it, and I have 2 months vacation time. So on to the conflict. My boyfriend used to work outside of home. He is an IT admin at a large company. But because of the pandemic, his job became partially remote. So we're working out of the same house, and I think he sees how different our jobs at pay are. He makes 65 grand a year and works a lot longer hours. He usually starts his day at 7 or 8 a.m. and works till 6 or 7 p.m. He more often has to work weekends to do IT stuff, and he's on call for emergencies with his personal phone. And it seems like they're having emergencies every week. So, since we've been working from home together, he makes comments about it occasionally. Like, must be nice kinds of things. Recently he's gotten more frustrated with me though. Yesterday I had a bad headache, so I told my boss that I was going to be away from my desk for a while since I wasn't feeling well. I blocked out a 2-hour meeting on my calendar so people wouldn't try to reach me and took a nap. My boyfriend saw me napping during work and said, "They're really paying you to sleep, huh?" I snapped at him saying that they were paying me for my skills and that I didn't like the way he had been talking about my job. He said something petty about my skills at napping and shooting the shit on Zoom and how that's definitely worth 6 figures. I got really irritated and said that just because he was underpaid doesn't mean that he could call me overpaid. And if he was mad, he should go take that out on his boss, not me. He said that I was being ridiculous. He'd be the crapper at work if he did. I said maybe he needs to find a better job if his boss isn't ready to talk money. He called me privileged and out of touch and said that it isn't that easy to just go find a better job. I said that if you don't try, you're never going to know. He got irritated and stormed out. Am I the a-hole for how I talked to my boyfriend about work? Not the a-hole. He is jealous, which isn't healthy, but you earned what you have and you should be proud. Don't let his fragile ego bring you down. This. To add on, his jealousy is a red flag. Partners should be happy for each other and build each other up. Making comments like that isn't healthy. Exactly. Her success did not come at the expense of his. In a healthy relationship, one person's success benefits both. Not the a-hole, obviously, but I'm really sorry this isn't going to work out. For a partnership to work, you need to support each other and build each other up. He's jealous, of course. Me too. Stupid arts degree. But he's trying to diminish you rather than celebrating where you've gotten to and asking for advice. You really do deserve someone who thinks you're amazing. This right here. My work situation is similar to OP's, and my wife was surprised at first when she realized it. Never did she put me down or diminish it. Instead, she talks about how inspiring it is to her to see how my company treats me, and how she hopes to find as good of a career as me someday. She's significantly younger. OP deserves a partner mature enough to handle the ramifications of his own decisions. So I had a boyfriend that belittled me and started fights over arbitrary things because I was making double what he was. His insecurity blinded his ability to be happy for what I worked really hard for. I'm saying everything in past tense because I dumped a guy and found someone who supports me in every way possible. You should do the same. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to go to my sister's wedding? My sister is getting married next month. My husband and I were both planning on going, but when we got the invitation, it was only for me. When I called my sister to ask about it, she said my husband was of course fine to come, but she requested that he not be in any family photos. My husband is in a wheelchair. I've been married to him for 8 years. He has been in a wheelchair since he was 16, and my family's always ever known him to be in his chair. Apparently, my sister doesn't want him in any of her wedding photos because she is afraid that he'll take attention away from her because he is different. She justifies this by saying when people come over and see our family photo, they always ask about him because he's the only one that is in a wheelchair, so he stands out. She says she wants to be the main focus in her photos. I was livid. I went off on her and told her she was being a selfish bridezilla and told her we wouldn't be coming. I've been getting calls from my parents and relatives telling me I need to apologize to my sister because now she's upset. I'm angry at them for thinking it's okay to leave my husband out of family photos because of his disability. My husband hates being a burden on people, and he says he's fine with not being in the photos, which made me even angrier, because now he feels bad about himself for something I feel is unwanted. Am I the a-hole if I don't support my sister's big day because of this? My husband says we should be there for family even if he can't be in the photos. My family says I need to apologize, but I feel like this is an issue I need to fight for. Am I wrong? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole at all. This is absolutely an issue that you need to fight for. Your sister wants to exclude your husband for no reason than his wheelchair, and that is unacceptable. She's being a bridezilla for sure, and your a-hole family members are backing her up. Don't feel 1 ounce of guilt for her. That's just freaking awful, and she needs to get over herself. OP, schedule a photo shoot with you and your husband on her wedding day. Go all out. Make them spectacular and post them to show how amazingly photogenic your husband is. Your sister wants to spend her day disrespecting your loving marriage because she thinks she's competing with a disability for attention. She clearly doesn't understand relationships enough to get married, although that's another issue, I guess. I wouldn't go to the wedding either because your sister cares more about photos than humans. Tell her to hire some actors that look exactly as she wants them. That way she gets her perfect moment and you don't have to be there. That's hilarious. I'll tell her my wedding gift to her is to hire some semi-attractive actors to take our place. That way she can get the perfect photo. But just semi-attractive. If they're too pretty, then she'll be competing again. Maybe you should leave casting to her and just foot the bill. I told your idea to my husband and he cracked up. Although he said that since the wedding's mostly family, sending someone in our place would probably cause even more of an attention grab, and what we should do instead is send cardboard cutouts of ourselves in our place. Not stay home. This makes me so mad when people forgot what a wedding is about, just because they want the perfect wedding. Weddings are about two individuals joining their life together and deeply loving each other, not having picture perfect to show and post on your Instagram. This is so superficial. That picture to post on Instagram is very important to her. She has kind of always been obsessed with image, but she's never said anything negative about my husband before, and this request really shocked me. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my mom for refusing to let my wife host a single holiday? I've been married for 6 years, and my wife and my mom have never really gotten along. I don't think my mom is an awful mother-in-law. They just don't vibe, and they avoid each other if they can. I would describe the relationship as frosty. My mom does respect our boundaries and doesn't undermine us as parents. She just keeps a pretty big distance and doesn't interact much. My mom hosts all holidays at her house, as does my mother-in-law. My wife and I rotate which family we celebrate with, and my mom is cool with that and has never pressured us to go to her house. Recently, my wife has expressed that she wants to turn to host, and she feels like since we have kids, 4 and 2, that the mom should hand it over to her. She talked to her mom, who was very sad, but agreed to let my wife have one holiday. I talked to my mom, since we both do the communication with our own family, and my mom said no. I gave her my wife's reasons. 1, we have young kids. 2, we have our own house now and our little family, and it's exciting for my wife. 3, my mom got 20 plus years of hosting. My mom said no again. She said if we don't want to come over, we don't have to, but she will not be coming to our house. She said we can invite my side of the family, but she honestly thinks that would be an a-hole thing to do. I asked if she really was willing to give up her holiday with her grandkids, and she said yes. I did get frustrated and called her selfish. The conversation ended with my mom yelling at me that I'm a hypocrite, and she feels like I expect her to care about my wife more than she is obligated to. I asked around and none of my relatives are willing to come, but my sister did yell at me and said I'm a bad son, and I'm disrespectful for thinking our mom should give up something she cares about. I work for my stepdad's company and is currently not talking to me, and I guess my whole extended family is talking bad about me, and they are offended that I thought they would come to my house. Your mom is being childish and trying to weaponize your relationship to keep a parental control on you. Set up those boundaries. You have your own family life, and it doesn't sound like she's willing to share in it currently. Common mom BS, but you may be surprised how well boundaries and putting your foot down can work. LMAO. I hope he and his wife want to host. His mom said she's staying home but hosting her own thing. What boundaries do you think are going to help? If anything, his mom has already set boundaries and put her foot down. If you have kids old enough to host their own holidays, then presumably you have had years and years and years of hosting. There's nothing wrong with allowing your now adult children to host for a change. If everyone hosted their own thing, then no gatherings would exist, and families would all just be at home on their own. Not day hall, but I'm baffled by anyone wanting to host holidays. The best part is going elsewhere to eat too much, and coming home to a quiet house with no mess to clean up. Not stay home, but your side of the family sure is. Wow, so much to unpack here. I don't think my mom is an awful mother-in-law, but the conversation ended with my mom yelling at me that I'm a hypocrite, and she feels like I expect her to care about my wife more than she's obligated to. She's not obligated to care about your wife. She should want to care about the person you have chosen to spend your life with and build a family around. Your mother absolutely is a bad mother-in-law. She is too selfish and controlling to let your wife host a holiday. That is petty and nasty. She has had her time to host. Do your own thing and invite who you want. Those that show up are your true family. Cherish those people. I guess she's a bad mother-in-law. I find my mother-in-law super overbearing and in our face. So sometimes I guess I envy my wife for having a mother-in-law who does not give a hoot. "30 male husband asked me, 26 female, to sleep with his friend. He left me saying I cheated and I'm pregnant. My husband and I have 2 kids, ages 2 and 4. We married when I was pregnant with a 4-year-old and have been together just over 5 years total. About 6 months ago, my husband asked me to sleep with another man while he watched. I was not 100% comfortable with it, but he asked a few times and I eventually agreed. He had a couple of rules, like whoever I found had to have a recent and clean STI test, because husband didn't want rubbers used. I was on birth control, and he had to set it all up. And that was the extent of my involvement until the event itself. He found a friend willing to do it. Husband said he was sure he wanted this, and begged me to go through with it. I did, and he left within a week, citing this as his reason. He's now telling anyone who will listen that the friend and I cheated. The friend told the truth, but obviously no one believes that my husband asked his friend to sleep with me. If someone had asked me about it, I've told the truth, but no one believes me either. I've been cut off from my husband's family due to this, and as my husband is not currently in contact with me or the kids have been cut off as well, which is hurting them. Most have just gone silent on me, but the few who have reached out have not been kind. It was our youngest child's birthday a few days ago, and we arranged to do something with just family. Grandparents, aunts/uncles, cousins, all from my husband's side, and no one came. My brother ended up dropping by, but that was a surprise, as he wasn't invited as I'm low/no contact with most of my family. So my kids have primarily interacted with their dad's family, and that's the side they're more attached to. It's been about 4.5 to 5 months since the friend, and a month ago I found out I was pregnant. I had plenty of action with my husband both before and after, but the fact I also had slept with a friend, and my only protection has clearly failed, cannot be overlooked. I'm now starting to show. I need to know who the father is. My husband isn't speaking to me, not even to discuss a divorce or the kids, and I don't even know where he's living right now. But if I ask the friend to get tested and my husband finds out, this whole situation becomes significantly worse. There are a couple of aspects I need help with, so I'd be grateful for any help on any of them. 1. What do I do about my husband's family, who the kids adore and really want to speak to? 2. What do I do about my husband who is ignoring our kids? 3. What do I do about the baby? Do I talk to the friend first or my husband? Neither of them? Both? What's the safest way to go about this? Now for the top advice. This honestly sounds like a setup. Like he manipulated the situation to make him look like a victim, so he could abandon his family. My ex did cheat on me, but I still maintained contact with children who aren't even mine. I would get a paternity test and then sue for child support. I would also see about getting a lawyer and filing for divorce and have him served with the papers. It's up to the family to maintain a connection with the kids. If you have family, you may want to get your kids in contact with that family. OP, to add on this, do you have any evidence of him asking this? Screenshots discussing it, etc.? I'd get that stuff all lined up. It does seem like he is framing the situation. Does the jurisdictional event penalize a cheating spouse in a divorce? Have your attorney send an anti-spoliation letter requiring your husband to preserve his phone. Also have his friend sign an affidavit detailing the specifics of the encounter. Sounds like he either was looking for an excuse to leave, or after the high from the event wore off, he was so disgusted with himself that he had to project that energy outward, onto you, in order to preserve his fragile ego. Could be both. All I really got from him was that things were different now. The word tainted was used. He was the only guy I had been with before this, so I think it was coming from a place of regret. The fact that he also abandoned your children tells me that he was looking for an excuse to check out of the family before this even happened. Man, you need legal advice. This is slandering, and the way you phrase it, it makes it sound like he was looking for a way out of the relationship. Go get a lawyer. My brother has recommended a lawyer, but I haven't called yet. I plan to, I just want to talk to my husband first. Talk to your lawyer first. Don't talk to your husband. He is shown to be manipulative. You need outside help. He was going to leave you either way. If you did it, he was going to leave you for cheating. If you hadn't done it, he would have said you didn't love him enough. Take it to court. Get the child support your kids deserve. Force a paternity test on him. In some places, it is his child since you are married. I am sorry that he is abandoning his children. You need to be strong for them. I wouldn't force visitation since the family already showed how cruel they are. If you're still married when the baby is born, then it will automatically be his child legally. But if he's not the father, then the other guy will be able to contest if he wants to get a DNA test. Though I have no idea if he would want to. Next story is titled, My fiancé threatened to break up with me if I told her best friend's husband that his wife is cheating on him. I, male 27, have been together with my fiancé, female 28, for 12 years, out of which 3 years we have been engaged. I love her a lot, and everything between us has been great. We do encounter problems now and then, but every long-term couples does, to be fair. The problem we are having right now is not so much to do with us directly, but to do with my fiancé's best friend. I'll call her Betty in this post. Yesterday while going to work, I stopped at a bakery and get some breakfast. Right across the street, I saw Betty with a guy. First, they were just talking and I didn't think much of it, and honestly, I was busy getting my sandwich. I turned around and they were kissing. I got my phone and took a photo. Not the most ethical thing to do, but I thought the husband might need it. I got home, told my fiancé about it, and also shared a photo with her. She told me to delete the photo and just ignore it. I wasn't comfortable with this, and told her that instead I would tell her best friend's husband, because if it was me in his position, I'd like to know too. Her concern with us was that it would really damage her friendship with Betty, and that's why I should stay out of it. I disagreed, and she told me that if Betty's husband found this out from me, I should consider our relationship over. Later that day, my fiancé apologized to me that she didn't mean the breaking up part, but I really shouldn't do this, even though that would be the right thing to do. I was still a little pissed that she would just throw away a 12-year-old relationship just to hide someone else's cheating. So I told her that I would tell the husband everything, and if she wants to break up over this, I'm fine with that. Definitely did not mean the I'm fine with that part, but I probably just said it out of pettiness/spite. I haven't told the husband yet, but all this has me questioning my fiancé's moral values and how she thinks infidelity is okay. Kinda messed up. It's 8 a.m. right now where I live, and I haven't slept all night thinking about my relationship. She did kinda double down on the breaking up part at the end if I proceeded on telling Betty's husband, so I'm very conflicted right now. How do you guys see the situation? Should I tell him knowing that it might end my relationship? $10 that your fiancé has cheated on you in the past and her best friend covered for her. Oh man, I hope not. But I did suspect that too. Opie's fiance might be thinking that if Opie ruins her best friend's marriage, she might come for her relationship. Opie needs to do the right thing here and tell the husband if she wishes to find out why his fiance had a bizarre reaction to a simple problem. Absolutely. Even if that wasn't the case, she expects her BFF to cover for her when she does cheat. And even then, she's very clear that keeping her BFF secret means more to her than your 12-year relationship. And yes, your values are no longer aligned, if it was ever to begin with, which is very important in a relationship. Make what you will of that info, OP. She clearly knew her friend is cheating. If my boyfriend came home and told me my friend is cheating on her husband, I would probably spend hours talking/dishing about it with him. I wouldn't just tell him to ignore it. Her reaction is weird on so many levels. She knew. Now the question is, does she value her friend being a cheater more than your relationship? Or does the friend have something on her? Also, I don't mean to pry, but why are you engaged for so long? Like, is the wedding on the horizon? Her reaction was definitely weird as heck. Today I'll talk to her more about this and see where we both stand on the matter. It's okay. We did intend to get married 2 years ago, but then COVID came around, which forced us to postpone our plans. Both our families lived abroad, and both those countries were on the red list, so we decided to postpone until we can fly them here. How long has she been best friends with Betty? And how well do you know the husband and their marriage? They both have been best friends since primary school. We hang out with them 2 to 3 times a month, and have double dates and good stuff like that. I talk to the husband occasionally, but we are not close friends. Your fiancé may feel that you telling the husband means that she told you about it and this would jeopardize her friendship with the wife. Was your fiancé aware of the affair before you told her? She says that she didn't know, but it did not surprise her when I told her this. Her reaction was more like, meh, which could be that she didn't care or that Betty cheats so much that she thought, oh, a new guy again. I don't know which one is it. Next story. My 27 male female friend 27 female who rejected me is upset at my response time as of late. So I had a long heart-to-heart with my best friend and basically told her I loved her, which was true. She told me she wasn't a girl for me and to put my energy elsewhere. We still talk. I did just that. I downloaded a dating app and I'm talking to a girl who's very interested in me, so I'm giving her the same energy and attention back. I play video games with my friends or go to the gym every single day on top of working. As a result, I don't have a lot of time to text. I don't want to give my energy and attention to the girl who views me as a romantic option. I always get back to my friend at least once a day, while she will randomly stop texting me for over a day when she gets busy. I can tell from her attitude it's pissing her off. Like, she just expects me to reply instantly when she doesn't give me the same respect back. Why do I need to drop what I'm doing because she decided to break her radio silence she randomly gives me at an inopportune time? I'm a pretty easygoing and friendly guy, but she's honestly getting on my nerves. But I can tell I'm getting on hers. Should I just tell her I don't want to text anymore if this is the vibe? I'm not playing games with her. I just don't have time to text her sometimes because they're long messages. I play Warzone with my friends, and if I see the girl I'm dating texted me, I'll always answer her message first. She ignored me all of Friday. So I got back to her later on Saturday since I was drinking with the boys Friday, and haven't heard back from her since. Now for the advice. Stop putting so much pressure on this. Just do your thing. Text her when you have time and don't when you don't. Don't make it into a big thing. Alright, thanks. So if she messages me back tomorrow, I should just reply when I have a chance? Yes. This is how friendship works. You're living separate busy lives. Don't intentionally ignore her, but you can only text when you're not busy. This is basic stuff. Don't be dramatic about it. You don't owe her an explanation. She needs to understand boundaries. If she addresses it, play it off in a playful manner. Thanks. I have a group chat with my friends, and sometimes I'll answer a question like, you guys have room for me on the team? She'll take notice of my Facebook last active activity. You had said that you can tell that she doesn't like this and never mentioned a specific thing she said. I'm going to assume she hasn't said anything to you directly. If she has an issue, it is her responsibility to say something. It is not your responsibility to read between the lines and guess at what is happening. You can accept what she says at face value and move forward. If she doesn't respond to you for however long, don't assume it's about you. Just let her do her. Focus on you. I've known her for more than half my life. She isn't very direct and will never say what's on her mind, but she'll change how she acts. We don't hang out anymore because her boyfriend hates me. Her fault. He hated me before I even knew of him because she used me to make him jealous and kept me as a backup option, and I'm not comfortable having that in my life. It's a boundary she respects. But she's acting very different lately and not texting me back. She plays games. Now for the last story. I think my boyfriend is in love with his girl best friend and is in denial. What should I do? I'm female 24, my boyfriend is male 21. We've been together for about 4 months. He has had a best friend for 11 years who was also my best friend for 3 years when we met through college. She sets me up with my current boyfriend now. I've always had a weird gut feeling in regards to their relationship. They used to have sleepovers, go on movie dates, dinner dates, etc. When we got into a relationship, his girl best friend got angry with me because they no longer did those things which I find inappropriate considering he's now in a relationship. So she no longer talks to me, however, didn't take anything out on him. After seeing her reactions, I asked to set healthy boundaries, such as types of conversations you guys should be having, where it is appropriate and when it is appropriate for you guys to be hanging out, etc. Every time she comes up, my boyfriend gets very defensive. He has seen her addressed. He always prioritizes her feelings over mine, texts her and harasses her at hours such as 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. He has blown off our dinner plans for her before just to hang out. After telling him how I felt about my gut feeling and how it's making me a little uncomfortable, he looked at me dead in the face and said, "I don't care. I'm never gonna stop being friends with her, so you need to deal with it." Which I never asked him to not be. I simply asked for healthy boundaries to be set in our relationship, because their relationship is a little too close. He continues to gaslight me day in and day out, saying that she's like a sister, which could possibly be true, but given the actions that I've been seeing makes me wary. He also has lied to me saying that he was getting ready to come see me, but he was actually hanging out with her. Something in my gut is telling me that he is in love with her and is either in denial or simply does not want to confess his feelings because he knows she doesn't have the same for him, and he will destroy that friendship. It's hard for me to move forward with him when he keeps prioritizing her over me. She recently stopped talking to him, and he's been blowing up her phone every day since, saying that he will go and move mountains to reach her, and that she can block him on everything and he'll go and find her MySpace just to message her. I would really appreciate some advice and input on the situation in regards to what I should do. Why are you still with him? For what reason are you tormenting yourself? He plainly focuses on her over you and expressed in your face. For what reason are you remaining while at the same time realizing that he esteems his closest companion more than you? Simply leave the relationship before he cheats or leaves you for her. They both sound in denial. Tell him you never asked him to stop being friends with her, but the context of their relationship is not friends even if they don't see it. Prioritizing anyone over their significant other, cuddling, lying to the significant other, are all signs they're more than friends, unless he is doing the exact same things, and at the same frequency with his guy friends as he does with her. Then move on as you can never be in a good position between them. You gotta leave this dude and his girlfriend alone. Don't be a second option. But I am the girlfriend. She's the girl best friend who keeps overstepping boundaries that he keeps allowing it. He always prioritizes his girl best friend's feelings over mine. That's my point. Break up with him. Do you seriously want to be second in your relationship? You know he puts her first and you deserve better. The longer you stay, the worse it's going to be for you. He has an unhealthy obsession, it sounds like. I thought about breaking up with him all morning. It's getting to the point where every time I think of this situation, I am getting physically sick. I just keep thinking maybe I am wrong, and maybe she's like a sister to him, which is why I created a post, to hopefully get everyone's opinions on if I'm crazy and overthinking, or if I'm simply right and my gut feeling is trying to tell me something. Am I the a-hole for calling my mom when my husband refused to listen to me? I, 26 female, recently moved into my first home. I am also 4 months pregnant with our first baby. The pregnancy has been very hard. I have horrible morning sickness that reached a really bad point where I passed out and hit my head, and my doctor admitted me to the hospital for a week. When I got home, my husband allowed his brother's family to move into 2 of our 3 bedrooms. They were evicted, and I don't know why. One room was my office was tossed into our room, papers everywhere. The house was a complete wreck. Trash, dirty clothes, used diapers. I started to cry. It was like a light flipped and my husband was no longer the same. My husband told me it wasn't that bad. My reply was, fine then. You should have the house cleaned up before I wake up. Completely exhausted, I fell asleep for 4 hours. I woke up and went to get a drink of water. And I couldn't as every glass we owned is scattered around the house. They didn't clean a single thing. I passive-aggressively started to pick up the dirty dishes and wash them. The following morning, I was trying my best to work when their kids were crying nonstop, banging on the walls, so on. Their mom was in her room for hours ignoring them. When my husband came home, he was upset with me over how I didn't make his brother's wife feel welcome in our home by helping with her kids when she was tired, then continued to complain how nothing was done in the house while he was at work all day. Yep, the same house he didn't clean. That led to a fight where I told him, I am sick to have company and they need to leave. To which he replied, they're his family, and he won't kick them out. I started to cry again. I was beyond frustrated, exhausted. I physically couldn't do it anymore. So I called my mom asking if I could come stay with her, telling her the whole story in front of my husband, who at this point was completely shocked, angry. Also, I could tell he wasn't sure what to do. My mom came with my brothers. I have 3 older brothers. My super angry mom told my husband, since your family can stay, so can we. My mom then quickly took charge. I was sent to bed while my brother started cleaning, complaining loudly at how disgusting my brother-in-law's family is, along with what a horrible husband my husband is for putting me through this while I am sick. Later, I got a text message from my mother-in-law calling me an a-hole for not helping my husband clean up the house and putting my brother-in-law in an uncomfortable position by having my mom boss him around. Now for the top comments. Wait, your mother-in-law called to fuss at you for involving your mother? There's this pot kettle thing. Not the a-hole 1000%, but house guests in a shared home require 2 yeses and only 1 no. Both of you agree or it shouldn't happen. Your husband has treated you abominably. I'm not sure I could deal with that honestly. Can you go stay with your mom? I agree with the 2 yeses, but I wasn't even asked to say no. Which is a huge sign of disrespect and a major red flag. Does he do this a lot? Does he actively treat you like a partner? Or does he just decide things and you go along to keep the peace? This will not get better, OP, if you don't set some major boundaries. Again, that he did this while you were in the hospital suggests he knew you didn't agree and wanted to present it as a done deal you couldn't/wouldn't argue with. Go stay with mom and let him enjoy lying in the filthy bed he's made. And honestly tell him that you're not coming back until they're gone, and your house is as clean as when you left it. If you won't or can't, then you know where his priorities are. You're pregnant. The house you describe is unfit to bring a newborn into. Depending on how bad and what country you live in, Child Protective Services could step in. Is your marriage worth potentially losing custody of your baby over? Because I can tell you right now that it shouldn't be. That baby has to be your #1 priority, and living in a house full of dirty dishes and moldy food ain't it, sis. My heart hurts for you. You deserve so much better. He has always been very respectful. It was like his switch went off, and he's no longer acting like the loving person I know when he's around his brother. I know this may be hard to hear, but I don't think this is about his brother. You're now pregnant with his child and tied to him forever. This is when a lot of abusers show their true colors. It's time for you to start thinking about exit strategies. Not the a-hole. In fact, I think you were underreacting, which is understandable considering your current health. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my sister listen to her daughter scream? My 33 female sister Marnie, 35 female, has a 3-year-old daughter Annabelle. I love my niece very, very much, but Marnie sets down no boundaries for her. Everything Annabelle does is age appropriate, but as a parent, it's your job to help your child become the best person they can be. When Annabelle doesn't want to do something or needs to get her way, she screams. It's very, very loud and hard to ignore, so Marnie and her husband would instantly give in. As a mom of 4, I completely understand it's hard to hear your child cry or be upset. And sometimes, yes, absolutely pick your battles, but others, the toddler can't win. Around the holidays, Marnie and I hung out a lot with the kids. At one point, we were headed to an aquarium. Marnie started going one way and Annabelle started screaming. Marnie turns around and heads in a direction that'll add 15 minutes to our route. When I asked why, she said that Annabelle likes passing a certain landmark on her way. However, Annabelle then started screaming she didn't want to see it, and halfway there we turned around. It added more time and my kids were annoyed. I let most of this go as Annabelle is not my child. It isn't my vehicle nor house where these predicaments take place. But then Marnie broke her leg while her husband was out of town and she needed help getting around and tending to Annabelle. So I agreed they should stay with us. Last night, we pick up our kids from school, stopping at Annabelle's preschool last. Once we finally get her in the car, I didn't want to leave and Marnie let her just run around for 10 minutes and wouldn't let me grab her because she's the boss of her body. I'm exhausted. I still have to get home and cook. As I'm heading in one direction, Annabelle starts screaming for me to go in the other. I calmly explain that way is longer and we don't have the time. Marnie asks me to just make it easier as she doesn't want to hear her scream. But going that way will add more time to our drive, so I say no again and kept driving, putting on some kid-friendly music while my kids are trying to distract Annabelle. Marnie starts crying, saying things like, "It's okay, baby. We'll be home soon. Oh, I know you're so sad." This isn't very nice. The thing is, Annabelle stopped screaming after 5 minutes when she realized she wasn't getting her way. Keep in mind, she never shed a tear, just screamed. Marnie later told me that I was horrible for forcing her to listen to her daughter scream. Asking wouldn't have been so hard to not add stress to her. My husband agrees that I did the right thing but also pointed out Marnie and Annabelle are going through a stressful time. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. That poor kid apparently won't be learning appropriate behavior anytime soon. Yep, especially since anyone who teaches it to her will apparently be berated for making her scream. Annabelle needs to be taught good behavior immediately, and Marnie is doing a massive disservice to her child by refusing to parent her. As the saying goes, they can cry now or you can cry later. This won't get better as she gets older if Marnie keeps things this way, only worse. Not the a-hole. It's your car, and you're not being paid to chauffeur her daughter around. When she drives, she picks the path home, and you kept mom. They can afford you the same respect. But you can't change how your sister parents her child. You can only distance yourself from the spoiled brat she's raising. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think people have some complete, inalienable right to parent their kids as incompetently as they like in their own nuclear family silo. Sooner or later, we're all accountable to a community. I'm also not one of those people on this website who seemingly gets off at the thought of berating a bratty child stranger in public. That's not what I mean. But the adults closest to this kid's misguided parents have a role in enforcing their own expectations, making it clear that this kid will have to learn to cope if she wants to function in settings outside her own home. Better that than this kid's underpaid stressed teachers trying to do it alone, with no support from any other adults, while Opie and other family keep a cold distance. Not the a-hole. Hopefully Marnie and her husband will learn to set healthy boundaries with Annabelle. Does Annabelle behave like this at preschool? Yep, there's been a lot of behavioral reports because she screams when told no, or clean up messes. Next story. Am I the a-hole for bringing my baby to the hotel resort my brother was getting married in? My brother was getting married, and it was a child-free wedding per future sister-in-law's request. The wedding was out of state, so my husband and I were going to make it into a 3-day weekend. We had a sitter lined up months ago, but the day before we were set to leave, she had to cancel for a family emergency. We tried to find a last-minute sitter that we trusted and could also do just overnight but came up empty. I tried calling and texting my brother about the situation but couldn't get hold of him. We were both in the wedding party and I didn't want to leave my brother and his soon-to-be wife in bind, so I called my mother after that since I knew she was with them. I explained the situation and she said she'd call me back after talking to him. 4 hours passed and we didn't hear back from them, so we had to make a decision. And since we are currently sharing one vehicle, I couldn't really leave my husband and kid without a vehicle, and had put a lot of money already into the wedding and trip, so we just took our baby with us. We got there later than we originally planned and just went to our room. The next afternoon was the wedding, and my husband and I planned to swap time out. I'd go to ceremony and part of the reception while he stayed with the baby, and he could attend the second half of the reception while I stayed with the baby. When the ceremony was over, and we were heading inside to the reception, my husband had the baby inside in her stroller. I joined my husband and went to say hello to some family members, and went with him to congratulate my brother and new sister-in-law. Husband said his hellos and congrats, then went back to our room with our child. I left the reception area a few times to bring my husband some small plates of food so he didn't have to wait for his turn to eat. In one of my trips back, my brother spoke with me about it being child-free wedding, and his wife was upset that my husband had a baby in the lobby and that I kept leaving the reception. I told him they can't be too upset because we didn't bring the baby into the wedding area or the reception. But the rest of the time I was at the reception, I kept getting comments from who I'm guessing were sister-in-law's family and her bridesmaids about how I was trying to steal her thunder by having my baby there. Sister-in-law kept asking why I didn't just leave them at home and would not accept my reason for not doing so. It's been a sore spot for my family and her all weekend. Am I an a-hole for bringing the baby with us? Info. The wedding ceremony itself was outside in a courtyard. It was not in a closed-off area. We had to go through the lobby area to get to the reception hall. My husband was in the lobby walking with the baby and getting coffee from the hotel shop. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Short of abandoning your child, what else were you supposed to do? Would have loved to hear sister-in-law's recommendation, likely requiring duct tape. Not the a-hole. Wait, you don't use duct tape on your kids? Not the a-hole. Excited to hear what magical solutions everyone had on offer. You were in the wedding party. You had a solid plan for everything. You showed up and did an amazing job under those circumstances. The magical solutions were 1. Leave my husband without a car while he was home with our baby. 2. Leave our child with a babysitter we didn't know for more than one night. 3. My husband languished in the hotel room for hours without eating before he could go downstairs to the reception, which held to the no on room service prices. And 4. Whoever was watching the baby just stay in the room. You forgot the solution where someone actually got back to you in a timely manner about you losing your sitter. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You and your husband did all you could to respect the child-free wedding, while also dealing with an unexpected sitter cancellation. You tried to reach out to someone in advance of the wedding, and did everything you could to not have the baby be the center of attention. The only piece that maybe stands out is the left the reception area a few times. But without knowing what kind of setup that was or how you left, it doesn't change my opinion. Last story. Am I the a-hole for hiding condiments for my wife and children? My wife more or less takes care of the house and kids. When I'm home, I take care of the honey-do list and do my part around the house. Before I got married, I lived with my roommates and never had any problems. We were all immature adults who respected each other's boundaries, and when we didn't, we accepted the repercussions. Now, our house has a large kitchen with lots of cupboards. Our pantry's under the basement stairs. My wife leaves just the basics in the kitchen cupboards. She says that everything we aren't going to use up that week can stay downstairs. I am the only person in my family that eats certain snacks, as neither my wife or kids like my stuff. So I ask for one shelf in the kitchen for my stuff, not one cupboard. 1 out of 3 shelves and 1 out of 11 cupboards. My wife agreed that was fair, and it has been that way since we bought the house. I get to keep soap, candy, and salty licorice where I can always find them, along with my personal balsamic vinegar and few other things. My cupboard isn't stuffed, but it's not particularly organized either. But I know it's there, so I can reach in and grab what I want. For the last few months, my family has decided that since my shelf isn't full, they can stuff whatever they want in there. For the most part, it consists a bunch of giant condiment packs from Costco, stuff that belongs in the pantry. I've asked them not to do this, and I take the stuff down to the pantry. I am getting kind of sick of this. I started just pulling them out and leaving them on the counter, and they ended up back on my shelf. So now I hide them around the house. When they come looking for the salt, pepper, granulated garlic, garlic toast mix, or steak spice, I give them clues. Boy, I sure would be salty if I found that in the basement bathroom under the sink. Then they have to go dig it out from behind everything there. My wife says that she understands and that I can stop doing this. I agree, so I promised I would only do this stuff that wasn't mine that was on my single shelf. She said I was being an a-hole. I agree, but I don't think I'm alone in this. On the plus side, I don't have to hide half a gallon of vinegar in the garage now. Seems like I'm in the minority so far, but I think not the a-hole. Without much cupboard space and separate pantry, it would be very easy for them to just leave you your one shelf regardless of whether or not it is empty. It's not empty. It has my stuff on it. I don't know, man. Reading the absolute vitriol in the replies has me cracking up. I don't think it's that serious. She gave you spot for your stuff and is no longer respecting that space. Are you being a bit of a dum-dum with hiding stuff? Sure, but it's harmless. Going against the grain on this one to say not the a-hole. Or just move your food forward on the shelf so it looks full. But yeah, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Man wants one shelf to himself. He's fulfilled the usual AITA demand to communicate and it failed. Instead of the YTAers getting pissy with him, how about his family grant him one simple request? Agreed. OP is so petty. Darn right.